The year was 2002. Our country was at war, people still watched American Idol, and the first Spider-Man movie swang into theaters. Ah yes, life was good. Well, except for the terrorism and stuff.
No, you can't read my poker face.
And it was a time when the Toonami gods brilliantly exposed a young American audience to the wonders of anime, which would spark the flames of a fiery passion/obsession in me and my friends for years to come. Among those classics that would grace our not-so-flat screen TVs was a man whose hand glowed with an awesome power. That's right, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z. What? No, I'm talking about Mobile Fighter G Gundam, alright? For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, and just clicked on this video because of the handsome black dude on the thumbnail, let's begin with a brief summary of the show, and of course, spoilers are ahead. G Gundam takes place in the future century timeline instead of the universal century timeline where most other Gundam series take place. In this timeline, the Earth is pretty much fucked by war and global warming to the point where majority of mankind left Earth to live in space colonies. Each country has a colony equivalent such as Neo-Japan, Neo-Turkey, Neo-America, and so on. And instead of going to war with each other in space, each colony has agreed to participate in a tournament held every 4 years called the Gundam Fight. They each send a mobile fighter pilot representative, and they all fight until one Gundam is left standing. The winning country is the ruler of the Earth until the next Gundam fight. Domon Kashu, the show's protagonist, is a definition of a typical hot-headed male anime character, where his emotions often cause him to make brash and downright dumb decisions. And this is made apparent throughout the series with how he handles conflict and how he treats his partner Rain.
Though they're not necessarily obedient. Domon, what's the matter? You haven't contributed anything to the conversation.
Ah, zip it. Keep your hands busy, not your mouth.
Domon is an angry dude, no doubt about it. But the situation he's thrust into gives him some reason to be. In his younger years, Domon went off to train to become a martial arts master with his mentor, Master Asia.
You guys should have seen him. He was really strong.
Upon his return home, he finds out that his dad, Dr. Raizu Kashu, was working on a Gundam that used evil technology. His brother Kyoji Kashu steals the Gundam and goes to Earth, and in the conflict his mom, Mikano Kashu, is killed and his dad is sentenced to cryo-freezing. In order to win his father's freedom, the Japanese government forces him to become a pilot of the Shining Gundam and participate in the Gundam Fight tournament. Now Domon is motivated to free his father and to find his brother to make him pay for what he did to their family. The first half of the series is centered around Domon traveling to different countries around the world to challenge respective Gundam fighters of that nation, as well as search for his brother and the stolen Dark Gundam. Literally everyone he meets, he shoves his picture in their face, asking if they've seen him, and even literally in the middle of beating people's ass, he pauses to ask about Kyoji.
What's going on? Do you know this man? Never seen him. I don't know. I've never seen that guy before in my life. I see.
It's honestly hilarious, and it spawned endless memes. Along his journey, he builds a rivalry and friendship with the following Gundam pilots who have become essential to Domon's growth as a Gundam fighter. Chibity Crockett, the American from New York, Saisaishi, the Chinese child prodigy of the Shaolin Temple, George the San, a fancy French knight, and Argo Golsky, the Russian space pirate. And by their powers combined, they form what's known as the Shuffle Alliance. The show's Monster of the Week narrative shifts around episode 12 when Domon and Rain head to Shinjuku in Japan upon reports that the Dark Gundam have been spotted in the area. When they arrive, they're attacked by the Dark Army, but are saved by a mysterious stranger who is actually Domon's martial arts teacher and mentor, Master Asia. Domon loves this dude. Look at him. They made a whole fusion dance together. And Master Asia legit got superpowers, bro. Look at this man. He's fighting Gundams with bed sheets, bro. That shit cold as hell.
Incredible!
After a brief moment of peace, the Dark Gundam begins its attack on Tokyo. Domon joined forces with Master Asia and his small group of pilots, minus that one dude who decides he's had enough of this shit and straight up gets smoked by the Dark Gundam.
I'm leaving while I still can.
No, wait!
Stupid. You a dummy, like a big ass dummy.
They manage to save the city, but big surprise, Master Asia has revealed his allegiance to the Dark Gundam, and says the Dark Gundam's DG cells were needed for the world to achieve peace. Domon is heartbroken, of course, and just a little side note here, Domon is 20 years old, and in the flashbacks he's depicted as a young kid, so we can suspect that Master Asia was with Domon for a few years. Also, that shit kinda weird. What parent is letting their 14-year-old go off to train with a master of martial arts in a secluded location for a few years? Like, low-key, that shit is kinda irresponsible. The second act of the show occurs in a place where Domon used to train with Master Asia years ago, called the Guiana Highlands. Here, Domon and friends train to master new attacks, and like clockwork, Master Asia and a Dark Gundam show up to put them to the test. Domon learns to activate his hyper mode using a serene state of mind, instead of it being triggered by him just, getting triggered. Domon destroys the Dark Gundam and makes Master Asia his bitch, but his Gundam gets destroyed in the process. Conveniently, his team was working on a new and better version called the Burning Gundam for him to use in the tournament finals. In this new Gundam, Domon races to the tournament grounds in Hong Kong, arriving with seconds to spare. The third act, we see the Gundam fight finals that lead into the final conflict, a battle royale. In fact, this is a good time to reveal some of the lesser known and admittedly ridiculous Gundams that make up the rest of the competition.
The next Gundam is the powerful Zeus Gundam from Neo, Greece. It's truly majestic, isn't it? Next, we have the Hurricane Gundam from Neo, Holland. We'll see how fearsome its tremendous windmill is. This next Gundam is sure to show us great power. Toro Gundam from Neo, Spain. Gundam Viking from Neo, Norway has sailed the 7 seas to join us here. Neo, Nepal, Mandela Gundam. Neo, Denmark, Mermaid Gundam. Neo, India, Cobra Gundam. Neo, Kenya, Gundam Zebra.
Domon calls out Master Asia saying he's gonna win all his fights just for the chance to fight him again. Of course, this rubs the other contestants the wrong way, but Domon, he don't give a fuck, cause he know he the GOAT and it's his show. Rain gets a nice hotel for Domon and her to stay in, and he decides he's not with all that and goes to live with a homeless man and his grandkids on a boat. But they turn out to be cool and become his support/cheerleaders. As the tournament goes on, Domon has some hard fights that force him to adapt in new ways, like his fight against Neo Greece's Zeus Gundam, who is obviously much bigger and stronger than Domon. Like, for real, look at this dude. They had to cut a hole in the ceiling so he could sit down. Bro, that's just inconveniencing everybody. Now we got a fucking skylight where we don't need one. Another significant source of that growth is thrust upon him by Master Asia and Wong, the current world leader. They both come up with new and exciting ways to test Domon, which most of the time is just straight up cheating. Like this one part where Domon has to fight being unable to move because Wong had magnets installed in the floor. Like, bro, come on, he's not even subtle with this shit. Here we are also introduced to some new allies/love interests. Saisaishi meets Neo Denmark's pilot's little sister Cecile, and I liked it. They hang out a few times, they end up working to save the old man's restaurant, some real wholesome stuff. Most 16-year-olds aren't thinking about helping out their local community. I mean, the only thing on my mind when I was 16. Unfortunately, Saisaishi has to fight her brother in the tournament, and like a real G, Saisaishi doesn't go easy on him just because he likes his sister. But that does lead to them having to return to Denmark, thus ending the young couple's love affair. For now, at least. The other new, noteworthy ally we meet is Neo Sweden's pilot Alan B. Beardsley. Alan B and Domon meet for the first time in the VR arcade, where she's the champ at a fighting game. Of course, this piques Domon's interest because it's about fighting, and that's what a man does most of the time. Of course, he had to play, see what's up, and challenge her, but they straight up break the game because they're both just too fast. But Domon is sprung instantly because, she's fine, she can fight. Later on, the two have a rematch, but this time with their Gundams. Domon, of course, wins the match, but also gains Allenby as a respected rival/ally/side piece/thing that pisses Rain off more than anything in the world. She ain't happy. The tournament finals come to a conclusion, and the Battle Royale is set to begin. The Battle Royale begins, and it's great. People getting smoked left and right, old grudges come to a conclusion, and some shocking reveals are made. And then, they lived happily ever after. Of course not. A lot more happens at the end, and I left out a whole lot of stuff intentionally in an attempt to get you to watch it for yourself. Well, did it work? Are you still there? Hello? Well then, let's talk about the show's reception. G Gundam originally aired on Japan TV's Asahi from 1994 to 1995, but like most of its American fanbase, I first came into contact with G Gundam when it aired on Toonami back in 2002. G Gundam, as I said before, was so different from its predecessors and was originally met with controversy for taking such a drastic turn from the main content. Despite that fact, reviews were generally positive. The show's outlandish characters, stylish mechs, and divergence from the usual war drama that Gundam is known to be was a welcome change of pace. However, most agreed that the story was lackluster at best when compared to its predecessors. Also, pretty much all the names of the Gundams had to be changed to become more palpable for an American audience. For example, the Dark Gundam is actually known as the Devil Gundam in the original Japanese version, and the Tequila Gundam being renamed to Spike Gundam for obvious reasons. Now, when I first watched G Gundam, I was a kid, so story was mostly lost on me. I just like giant robots doing martial arts and blowing stuff up. But, like most things, adulthood has a tendency of shedding light on stuff our adolescent brains hold dear and revealing them for what they really are. And I still love it. Yeah, the story is pedestrian at most, and the Gundam variants are laughable, and of course the biggest letdown in my opinion was Neo Kenya's Zebra Gundam.
Hey, boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
And I know what you're thinking. Come on, Phantom. White people can be from Kenya. Another aspect of the show that always stuck with me is the way Gundams are piloted. In most of the other Gundam iterations, the pilot is in a seated cockpit, and that never made sense to me. That a humanoid bipedal robot is piloted sitting down? Using your whole body to move a Gundam always made more sense to me, and we've seen this idea take hold in other media, more notably the Pacific Rim series. But I digress. G Gundam, despite its flaws, to me, was a pretty decent experience and will always hit me right in the feels because it was an anime I loved before I even realized what anime was. And the surprisingly nuanced father-son dynamic that Domon and Master Asia go through really deserves some credit. Well, that's all I got, guys. If you liked this video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It was a long time in the making, and I'm hoping to make some more of these nerd gush review things. I still don't really know what this is. But until next time, friends, always remember that hands glow with an awesome power.